Hello, and thank you for joining me today. Heather Gray with the LymeBoss podcast. Today we've got special guest Rachael Dardano with internal wisdom.
Internal. Mhm.
Eternal wisdom in Northern California. She's got quite the story to tell today. But first, I am the Lyme Boss. I help fatigued professionals with Lyme who want to conquer their brain fog, address their embarrassing gut issues, so that they can get back to a joy-filled, productive life, doing what they loved, not like wiped out on the couch. And I like bringing on like-minded guests who also have they might not necessarily work in the Lyme niche, but they have some sort of a niche that can help anybody, right? Whether it's autoimmune or mold or, today we're going to be talking about poop and constipation, one of my favorite subjects of all time. If anybody who's been listening to this, I mean, I used to have the podcast name used to be Talking Shit with Heather. And it was a tongue in cheek. It was twofold. One, we were going to actually talk about shit. And then two, it was actually like our shitstorm story, right? Most of us practitioners, especially on the alternative side, got into this line of work because of our own health journey, right? Our own shitstorm of a story. And a lot of times people are not talking about like the shadow side of that. And I find that that's where a lot of the healing and the juiciness can begin, right? People feel validated and seen. And so that's why I bring on the different practitioners that I bring on. And I saw Rachael here speaking at a bio-energetic conference. And I just recently became a practitioner, and I was like, I just fell in love with you immediately. I was like, her, I want to be like her. Like, what you're doing is amazing. Like, this is incredible. So yeah, I'm being a fangirl now, but I am a huge fan. So I just really appreciate you joining me today, and tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got started. What was your shitstorm story that got you into this line of work?
Oh gosh, thanks Heather for having me on and what the work that you're doing. It's fantastic, and I love seeing it and hearing it because personally I need more people like me out there talking about it and becoming aware of the shitstorm underneath the layers of what we actually complain and talk about. We might complain about bloating or feeling a certain way that we know we're off. And I think that's where I was very much into the allopathic world in the lab industry and teaching doctors and around doctors a lot, but I was suffering silently. And so when I opened Internal Wisdom back in 2010, it was really about ending suffering for people just like me. And we can talk about these things and we can get help and we can help ourselves. And so that's why I'm here. So
Yeah,
glad to share.
absolutely. Thank you. So yeah, tell us a little about what were you suffering silently with? Like what got you started on in your health journey?
Yeah, I will say that what I was aware of at the time, back after I had twins, so I have three daughters.
Ooh.
They're in their 20s now, but when I first got started in this, they were, I don't know, 4 or 5 maybe. And I was drained from having so many babies, and I nursed them, and I had a C-section, which added to a lifetime of childhood constipation. Epstein-Barr when I was younger. I had a low energy, a ton of allergies. You know, when you sneeze 25 times in a row and your nose is constantly running, that was me. And I just felt like, popping allergy meds and X-Lax was a normal part of my life. You know what I mean? I just had done it so much.
It's funny because I usually start off in podcasts that I'm on guests on talking about how I was basically born constipated. And I remember, my feet falling asleep on the potty when I was like 4 years old. And all my parents would do at the time of the doctors was, throw that thick, nasty oils down my throat, to soften my stool. But nobody was trying to figure out, right? Why are these kids constipated?
Right. I remember my mom going in with the enema bag, and I'm screaming bloody murder. I mean, because I'm thinking, what is happening? And I don't remember being traumatized, but I'm sure my body was at that point.
Yeah, I remember doing coffee enemas on my 9-year-old, and I didn't know any better at the time either, except that he was really constipated at the time, and who knows what kind of damage, I've done to his psyche.
Well, we're trying to help. And I think that that's happened to me too. When my girls were of age and they were suffering, it really brought this awareness to myself that what am I teaching? What am I passing on to my kids? And how do I help myself first? And it was a God moment when I found a colon therapist because I wasn't looking. And I was just buying at the grocery store, X-Lax and tissue paper and allergy meds. And, it's embarrassing. So I have the X-Lax underneath the tissue box and I'm standing in line holding it, trying to hide it. And this cute little redhead behind me, she said, if you want to get off of that, she hands me her card and she's a colon hydrotherapist. So I do like
That's
anybody does.
a brilliant marketing scheme. Oh my God. Do I need to hang out
Right.
at Walgreens in the freaking constipation aisle and just hand out my card until they kick me out of Walgreens?
Hold a sign up. Yeah.
Sorry, didn't mean to interrupt.
No,
But
it's
that's
true.
funny.
But I did like any normal person. I went home and I Googled it, and there's so much scare stuff about colon hydrotherapy out there that I made the appointment, but I actually didn't go until my third time of trying. And I hadn't gone in 8 days. I was miserable. And my children were really my saving grace because I would yell at them. And I hate to admit this, I was a bad mom sometimes because I was so stuck and frustrated inside my body that was what I was becoming on the outside. It wasn't my true self, my true essence. It was this upset, stuck, clogged up, poop shit girl that was just vomiting all over everybody else because I couldn't get it out one way, so it came out the other. You know
Yeah,
what I mean?
I 100%. You and I swear to God, we're separated at birth because that's what I talk about all the time is how moody and reactive I was, right? And I used to get so frustrated with my ex-husband because I used to tell him all the time, I'm like, dude, you know my heart. You know, this is not how I am. But when I act this way, could you make me not wrong for it? Because obviously there's something going on. Like if I'm treating you this way, could you imagine what's going on the side of me? And he could never get it. He always met fire with fire, which ended horribly. You know,
Right.
my new husband, God bless him, and I'm not as sick as I used to be, but in the beginning, he didn't make me wrong. He
Right.
didn't punish me for some of these outbursts. And what a blessing that was. Like he honestly got that I was not well, right? Because what well person talks to their kids that way, right? What healthy person talks to anybody that way?
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Right. So when I first started going to colon hydrotherapy, that's what I noticed is that it was hard at first. Dun dun.
There's so many. I'm like, so you're no longer full of shit,
I mean, there was a soaking process. There was a retraining within my body to let me learn how to let go because I was so tight in my abdomen, so tight in my gut, so used to holding on to that shit that it took a minute, and I changed a little bit of my diet, but really it was more about trust. Trust in the practitioner, trust in the process, trust in myself. And once that happened, the shit just flew out. I mean, it was just, can I say that on your podcast?
Oh my God, absolutely.
And I remember going out to my car and losing my shit emotionally, like just crying, like you can't catch your breath, bawling. And I felt so good afterwards. Heather, it was a life-changing moment of freedom, of like relationship connection between my emotions and this constipation problem that I thought would be my life.
Wow, that's incredible. You've given me goosebumps like the size of Texas.
Yeah, it was. And then I immediately decided to leave corporate. Didn't know how I was going to do that. Didn't know what I needed to do next, but that I was going to be opening a wellness center because nobody needed to suffer the way I was. And we needed to figure out a different way, especially for us women, especially for us moms, because that generational thing happens. And I wanted to be a part of helping that to not continue.
Yeah.
It has to start with me. So that's
what's your relationship with your kids like now?
Great.
Yeah. How old are they?
They are 21. My twins are 21. My oldest is turning 23 this month.
Gotcha. Mine's 19 and we still kind of have a strained relationship. I think he still holds a lot of resentment and a lot of issues from, I was undiagnosed Lyme disease for 27 years. Wow. I was not well, right? And I've apologized, but, until he's ready to actually kind of process and work through that with me. He's still kind of massively holding on to it. And so our relationship's not what it could be. And I'm hoping that it, you know, as he gets older, that'll get better.
Yeah, I think it does. I think with maturity and they have their own experiences, at least with my girls, we did landmark when they were about 8 or 9. So we were able to kind of compartmentalize. Everybody's doing the best they can with what they have, right? And self-compassion and I think the healthier you get and continue to prove that, they see that too. Whether they'll acknowledge it,
Right.
it's a different thing, but over time does heal.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So yeah, go into a little bit more about your like journey of getting unstuck and how you stayed unstuck and kind of what you guys specialize at your clinic there in California.
Right. So we start with the end in mind. As the drainage funnel, you got to clear the crap. And we teach a lot of breath work. We teach about the emotional connections between constipation and what there's those things that we know and we talk about, Heather, and then there's those things that we know is off. And so we do dive more into those deeper issues. As you know, there's layers.
Absolutely.
And so when I opened the center, it was all about constipation, and it still is, but it's also about that emotional, mental connection, the lifestyles, the choices we make.
Amen.
Yeah, that subconsciousness that drives our little voices in our head. And that's what led me to bioenergetics and FDN, and using this.
So are you a colonics therapist yourself?
I have been, yes, for 13 years. We have 3 other practitioners here.
That's funny. That was one of the that was actually one of the certifications I wanted to get early on after becoming an FDN. Like that was my next thing. I wanted to become a hydrocolonic therapist. And my ex-husband at the time, you really think you could shove a tube up somebody's ass for a living? I'm like, yes, because I know what the ridiculous benefits are, you know, to this practice. And I teach a lot about coffee enemas because I'm still just such a fan. Like you gotta get that shit out. Like constipation is no joke.
Well, and coffee enemas. So first of all, let me say we never shove anything. It's always gently placed.
Unless what if no, sorry, I was gonna go down a bad path there.
Well, I want to correct you just because there's so much misinformation about colon hydrotherapy out there. And it can be so therapeutic.
Absolutely.
It's properly administered. We go very slow, 1 cup of water at a time. It's triple filtered, super gentle, and it's working with your body, not this mad rush of hose water going up in a shoving forced way. And that's what you want to look for when you're doing a colon hydrotherapy session. And then, as you know, the coffee enemas are really about the liver, not so much about the colon. So it's water coffee enemas or colonics prior to a coffee enema, game changer.
Absolutely. 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 Yeah. Yeah. I usually do a couple saltwater series before I actually go in and do the coffee enema, just because like I said, I've got a history of constipation that goes clear back to when I was 4. And granted, my gut is working so much better now, but I also learned in my, you know, you talked about epigenetics, you know, in my DNA that I just don't detox properly. So it's a part of my self-care. Once a week, I do that 3 series coffee enema, just to make sure everything is staying the way that it needs to be, you know, not letting my detox bucket get too full again.
Absolutely.
Right. Ever.
Yeah. Even as a colon therapist, I think I was doing colon therapy for about 7 years before I got up the nerve to do a coffee enema.
Oh,
it just was like, what? It's so weird, but I love them. love them.
In FDN, that's actually part of our protocol. And back then, that was right after I got diagnosed with Lyme. And if you told me to jump, I said, how high? Because I just wanted to get better. And so they were like, coffee enemas daily for almost 3 months. And I was like, okay, here we go. Man, and my ex-husband was so annoyed with me because we'd be at like picnics, like a barbecue, a freaking 4th of July, and I'm talking to the person next to me about my, coffee enemas or my colonic experience. And he's like, what the hell is wrong with you? I'm like, dude, you have no idea. This is a game changer. This is a life changer. Like detoxing, and like, I'm glad that it's getting the exposure that it's getting these days compared to, back in 2013 when I, became an FDN, and back, gosh, when you started, like it was not even spoke about.
When I started, I almost, because I came from the medical industry too, my site in California is really kind of hidden because I felt like had to almost go underground. Like
Right.
it was this witchy kind of thing that I was doing, right? This backwoodsy thing, but really it's going back to the fundamentals. It's
I,
going back. There's a history through Egyptian all the way back of
right.
doing colon hydrotherapy. Different, obviously different equipment, but it's
Oh,
even in the Bible. There are verses, keep thy temple clean, right? So you have to start with the end in mind. So that's what we base everything here at Internal Wisdom on: opening up the drainage pathways, opening up the skin to sweating, opening up the lymph and moving it. But it has to go in proper order. If you're backed up and you start to detox, and I think this is where a lot of people go wrong, is with they start a cleanse, they start a New Year's resolution to lose weight, and they do it in improper order, and they feel worse before they feel better, and they hurt. So it's really important to start with the constipation, get that moving well. Then you can go deeper into the coffee enemas and the other things.
amen. Yeah, that's probably one of my biggest pet peeves in the Lyme community is everybody's chasing treatment. And then they get their treatment and then they wonder why they're so damn sick. And it's because they didn't address the end in mind at all. They're so damn backed up. And then now they're killing things on top of it. And now their detox bucket is wickedly overfilled,
Right.
overflowing. And it's just like, it doesn't have to be that way. It doesn't have to be that way. To get better from Lyme, you don't need to, get bedridden for 3 months, sick with herx. It doesn't have to be that way.
Right. Right. Well, and practitioners giving handfuls of supplements, and some people can't handle all of that. Most people can't. I can't. Nor do I want to take those. You got to build up and start with where you're at.
Absolutely.
Everybody has a different energy level. So I'm looking at energy most of the time. I'm looking at energy, and I'm looking at detox threshold, and I'm looking, all right, which bucket are you in? Are you in, do we need to bring up your energy level before you can do any detox? Or are we looking at, okay, you're resilient enough, let's go ahead and start doing some of that detox work and see how you react, and learning to trust your own body.
Beautiful segue. So let's talk about that energy point. And you said that, that you got into bioenergetics. Can you explain a little bit about what that is and what you're talking about and how you use that in your practice?
Absolutely. So when I first opened, we were focused on colon hydrotherapy. I knew about the sweating from IIN and my nutrition background. And then I got really interested in flotation. So I brought into flotation tanks and meditation and sound, isolation. Yeah. And I started working with veterans with PTSD and women with issues with sexual issues in their past. And what I discovered was that over time, my sensitivity was such that I could start to feel other people's energy in the tank. And I wanted to figure out a way. The water was clean. It wasn't a hygiene thing. It wasn't a biological thing. It was an energetic thing.
Mm.
And with my human design, I have to wait for things to come in. And Nest came in like to my field.
Wait, so you're a projector?
A manifestor projector.
Okay. I'm a generator.
Yeah.
Yeah. I make things happen.
You make things happen. Well, I thought I was a make things happen. When I force things, it goes all wrong. I have to wait for it to come in. So Nest came into my field. I got the scan. I got the rep to come in and do the demo. And we took some of the love and some of the infoceuticals with the vibrational frequencies, and we dumped them in those tanks. And then I floated in the tank. And I had this experience that was like just so overwhelmingly, the best way I can describe it is I got unstuck and flooded with love. And it was just like, oh, this is amazing. I have to have this. I have to learn this. And so I jumped into Nest pretty full bore. And it's an intense training.
Oh my God, I couldn't get over like right off the bat, gut, just right out the gate, the physics, the amount of physics, like it was like, holy shit. And I freaking tore through that during my free trial because I'm new in business, right? I've been around for a while, but I'm new in business. Like this was a huge undertaking for me to bite off, and I really needed to make sure it was a fit before I said yes. And so I I got that done in like 2 months. It was ridiculous. I did like 80 scans and became a practitioner in 2 months. Like it was
Good
nuts.
for you.
I burnt myself out a little bit. I was, yeah. I
Yeah,
don't recommend people getting into it that way.
not right. It's intense, and you'll continue to learn. I'm 6 years into it, I think now, and I'm still learning.
That's awesome.
But you'll start to see correlations with people, and you'll start to see correlations within the scans, and you'll start to make us, as people are going through a detox cleanse and using the infoceuticals, those conversations have a pattern to them that are very human, that's very accepting, that's very loving, and it's a general confirmation for people to be able to see, oh my gosh, how did it know that? And I felt that way. That's how they feel too. And so for me, it's just an extra layer of access to what you already know, and visually being able to put that in context of empowering your lifestyle changes and giving some, oh, I don't know, for me, permission to be imperfect, permission to be on the journey, permission to be human. And that's very comforting.
Absolutely. Even that word came up on my first scan, perfect. And then it showed up in the meditation. And at first I kind of like fridged because I was like, perfect. But it's like, no, it was talking about that whatever happens is perfect. And it's part of the design, because part of my story is perfectionism, right? Having that type A personality,
Yeah.
I was like, when I heard the word perfect. And then I was like, no, wait, she's saying something different here. Like that it's perfect when I screw up, and it's perfect when I do things well, and it's perfect when I yell at my kid, that it's all a part of this design and kind of what we signed up for. And that's what a gift, right? To have that permission to just be able to show up and know that what is happening is perfect.
Yeah. Right. Right. Well, and to be able to have tools to have all of the rainbow of emotions. Like we can be angry,
Yeah.
but there's a healthy way to express anger and upset. And there's an unhealthy way. There's an in control of our emotions, and there's uncontrolled. So it all starts with letting go of your shit. It all starts with, acceptance and self-compassion. And that then folds out into the universe. How we are within is how we are on the out.
Absolutely. So what were some of the results and kind of benefits that you started seeing like within yourself and some of your clients after using this?
Oh, huge life shifts. So a lot of people come when they've had enough.
Mm.
I'm fed up. I can't deal with this. Doctors are all telling me I'm fine, or I know there's something wrong. You know the story. And I'm ready. I've heard my friend went to you, and I'm here now, and I don't even know what you're about, but help me. And some of the things, the question really is being true to yourself. I mean, being true to yourself. I lost my train of thought there for a second.
So, like, what kind of benefits have they experienced? I noticed for
Oh,
like
yeah.
my dreams, I cannot believe how vivid and how much I'm remembering my dreams for the first time in decades. Like that's been kind of a cool yet crappy experience. So I was just kind of wondering what kind of benefits you've noticed with yourself and with your clients after using the Nest system.
The Nest system. Got it. Okay. So yeah. So dreams is a big deal. Putting connections together. Like I'll have a conversation. Oh, I had that with my child, with my dad when I was a kid, and putting those two connections together. Making shifts and decisions easier with clarity. This is what I want. This is what I don't want. When before they couldn't even name off what they really loved. What else? Oh, a lot. People with hercs on them too, especially if there's an underlying long-term, like if Lyme clients come in, or Epstein-Barr and it's undiagnosed, or there's something going on with the immune system that surfaces pretty quick. And so I've learned to go a little slower at times, depending where people are, because they're powerful.
Right. That's crazy to think, that people can herx off this. But yeah, I've seen it as well, especially with the EDs. That the EDs have a more of a detox, model to them. And so anytime I see EDs come up in their infoceuticals, I'm like, okay, you might want to start off a little slower with these, because I don't want you to have a Herx response, but yeah, I mean, but even the Herx response from these are still like nothing compared to what you would get if you were like, started regular supplements, right?
Well, again, it does depend on the person. So I've had people just do infoceuticals, and I've had people do other detox programs and services too. And some people generally will report back that they can't feel the infoceuticals at all. That doesn't mean that they're not working.
Right.
It just means that their sensitivity level isn't there, and that they're going into deeper levels, and it takes a little more time. And they usually do experience some sort of dream experience, or deeper sleep, or disturbed sleep for a little bit, and then it gets better again. So they can be pretty intense though, depending on how much you take.
Yeah.
When
Yeah.
I first started with Ness, I was in the mindset, type A personality. If a little bit's good, then a lot's better. So I was like drinking like a whole bottle of, love and stuff to try to get past whatever I was going through at the time, usually a broken heart. And then I learned that wound up for me with a lot of tears and crying. So I needed to slow down.
I was impressed. I got the ESR on my scan for the first time the other day. I literally took 2 dropperfuls, and then within 10 minutes I was bawling. I was like, oh, it's an emotional stress release. All right. Like, that's incredible.
Right.
I'm sitting here with my health right now set on female because, I was told that that's a good idea to do, like when you're doing stuff like this, because it kind of helps bring that magnetism and charisma, playfulness, right, of the female out. So what is some of your favorite experiences or things with your health?
I think you're doing it.
Oh, okay.
We used to podcast because before Zoom, I was using Zoom before everybody was using Zoom. And you had talking to people and getting people over the world to talk. And I had the My Health. And it helped me to just like a little bit of a, oh, there I am. Oop, there I am. Using it with clients and having, like, I had a quadriplegic and her hand was all cramped over, and we used the My Health on her, and she could bring her hand forward. I mean, so there were some healing experiences that are outside my realm of my general practice.
Right.
But we were playing, let's see if this will work. Let's try it. And I'm a real big experimenter and player with those kinds of things. And their games, great. Let's see. Anything that will help.
Right.
Feel better.
Absolutely.
And it does.
That's incredible. Yeah. I'm still blown away every day, every single day. I'm blown away by this technology, and bummed that some folks aren't, getting the results like that I've been experiencing. And so because I'm such a big, I want everyone to experience the same awesomeness, right? And it doesn't work that way. There's not one thing that fits all for everybody. Otherwise, there wouldn't be a need for so many different types of practitioners out there, right?
We'd all be the same and look the same and act the same.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and I have found more cleansing first sometimes is helpful with the infoceuticals too, because you can't pour more tea into an already filled up cup.
Oh, that makes sense.
The infoceuticals can still penetrate through, but if you're already dealing with so much stuckness, your body gets more overwhelmed. You can't go into those deeper layers of emotional healings that can provoke when you're the physicals. They're both the same in the mind. Can't distinguish between the two, but still there's this physicalness to our body.
Absolutely. So what is your favorite niche? What is the type of folks that you work with, you see there in your clinic the most of?
Yeah, stuck people. People are stuck. Constipation is our jam around here. Usually people that have, they're in some sort of transition, relationship transition, work transition, their health has transitioned, like menopause or something like that's going on. Their kids have gone off to college. Now, who am I? Those are all things that can relate back to physical stuckness, emotional stuckness that we work with.
And you brought up something a while back that I kind of lost track of, but I'd love for you to go back, and I would love if you wouldn't mind giving us like an example of some breath work that you teach your clients, because that is like the thing that I've learned in the past 6 months that has been a ridiculous game changer. I actually kind of used to poo-poo, breath work, because I'm like, lady, I'm breathing every goddamn day. Like if breath work worked, why wouldn't I be okay? But I didn't realize what a shallow chest breather I was, right? And then once I started learning stuff like breath of fire, right? And then some even box breathing to get my nervous system out of fight or flight and into rest or digest, like what a freaking game changer that is. So, I mean, like I said, if you're willing, do you have one that you could show us?
Oh, sure. Yeah. So breath of fire, I love what you just mentioned, but a lot of people can get dizzy or lightheaded, especially if they're super backed up.
Right.
So I do a couple of things that are more somatic. So we do a thing called pump it up, and you hold your hands to your side and like you're holding a dumbbell, and your thumbs are pointed towards your ears, and you're going to breathe in a really big deep breath and push up as hard and fast as you can, and elongate your spine, and then exhale. Yeah, and you want to do that 40 times.
40.
As fast, 40 as fast as you can. You don't have to do it. We won't have to do 40 here. But on the last breath in, you're going to breathe in and you're going to hold it. And you're going to imagine like there's a cord going from your tailbone into the earth, deep grounding, and then another light being shining straight up to the sky. And you're going to reach up this fast and elongate and just stretch out all the rib cage and just create space. And then when you can't hold your breath anymore.
My God, my back loved that.
Yeah, right?
That was ridiculous. Nice.
Another one, so that stretches and elongates. Your body needs space for the abdominal, the diaphragm to create that awareness and space in there and unravel what might be just, we tend to hunch. We're over a computer. We protect, and we don't realize how much we're doing that as a habit.
Right.
The next one would be like to pretend like you're grabbing your shoulder in your shirt and picking that up. And we're going to twist and breathe in towards your heart. So on your left-hand side, we're going to breathe in and exhale the other way. In, exhale. Get your neck involved. Look as far back as you can. See if you can look a little bit further each time. And this you can go as slow or as fast as you can. If you tend to get dizzy, you want to sit down doing this.
Like I did get a little dizzy, but I think it's because I'm in a chair that moves a little further than I probably would have.
Yeah, that's where I would caution with both of these breath work. You want to build up to it. You don't have to do breath of fire like that. You don't have to do that for it to have huge benefit. But it's really about now we're twisting the spine. We're twisting the abdominal muscles. We're twisting the digestive system, and we're creating that freedom. And then all that oxygen is flooding all your cells in your body. So it's telling your nervous system you're safe.
That's beautiful. And why is that important?
Well, you know why.
I know why.
The more we relax, the more we will release. If we're in a stressed out state, we're not in our creative minds. We're in our survival mind. Our survival mind does not need to poop or have sex or eat. It just needs to either what? Fight, flight, or freeze. And most of my clients are frozen. They're stuck, right? So we want to get you unstuck, which means we have to get you in that relaxed state. We have to get you in the playful state. We have to let your nervous system know you're safe.
Yep.
So you can take a poop.
And have a sex drive and digest your food. Yep.
Exactly. All the things that are pleasurable in life. We're human. We're supposed to be enjoying this journey.
Absolutely. Thank you. And that is just another area that I think is so glossed over, right? That it's never ceases to amaze me that when you put in these foundational, simple, right? Don't underestimate the act of simplicity when it comes to healing, and thank you for kind of, sharing that same sentiment that it really doesn't have to be this ridiculously hard treatment that you get in Germany twice a year. That's $10,000. Like it's incredible what can happen when you start off at home with things like breath work, lifestyle changes, detoxification, right? Supporting the body at the most foundational levels.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially for women. Women need community. We need to know we're not alone. We're missing out on all of that. And I think that the part of our soul craves to be around like-minded people, craves to be able to share our stories and the good and the bad and the ugly, and being able to bring forward our essence of not so good, bad, and ugly, all the good and happy and in celebration. And in that process, acceptance of just where we're at, so that we can have more fun with it.
Absolutely.
It doesn't have to be so difficult.
That absolutely does not. Thank you so much. It was so awesome to have you on here. So this is the shameless plug time. Like, what are you working on right now? What are you putting out in the world? Is there anything that you'd like to promote, or how can people find you?
Yeah, right now we're in the process of developing our internal wisdom community. And I really love sound vibration. The energy work is profound, and then a detox cleanse. So we're doing some group work, getting ready to do some group work. And then we have a wellness center here in Northern California that we are beginning to do retreats for. So people will be able to come in, do intensive therapies here, and stay here for a little bit, learn what they need to learn, and then we teach them skills to do from home.
That sounds incredible. Oh my gosh, I am so jealous. Thank you. So, and then how can they find you? How can they reach you?
Oh, internalwisdom.com is our website.
Easy enough. I will put that in the show notes as well.
Great, thank you.
Fantastic. Anything else you want to leave on with them? Like I said, anything else you'd like to promote, or?
Yeah, no, I think I really appreciate you having me on and what you're doing in the world. I just think it's amazing.
Yay,
I
you
admire you so much.
we
Thanks.
get to sit here and gush over each other. That's awesome sauce. Well, thank you all again, everybody. Thanks for joining us for this episode. Make sure to like, share, subscribe, and have a healthy day.